What's up, my dudes? Top 5 problems with Erode in MX Simulator. Now, believe it or not, this is actually not a video about me bashing Erode in MX Simulator. I've already done that enough times. That's really not what this is about. This is more about me trying to say things that I think could possibly be changed, and certain things that I feel like some people don't even understand about Erode in this game. I feel like a lot of people give their opinions on it, but they've never even really pro-raced in it, and hell, you even got some people out there that have never even played MX Simulator, and they're out there giving their opinions on Erode in the game. So it's just like, I want to go in here and kind of clear this up and explain the top 5 true biggest problems with it, and this is in no particular order, nothing like that. And hell, I might even say 6 different things or 7 different things, I don't even know, but I just had to come up with some sort of title here. So okay, number 5, one of the biggest problems with it is you can't see it. And I know that sounds so weird and crazy, but that seriously is one of the biggest problems with Erode in MX Simulator, is you just seriously cannot see it on the ground. And what makes it a lot different in MX Simulator versus a lot of other terrain deformation systems and other motocross games is, in those games it seems to actually sort of draw the rut on the terrain, if you know what I'm saying. Whereas like MX Simulator doesn't really draw it, it just sort of subtracts it from the terrain. So depending on what sort of decal you have going with it, it can make all the difference in the world there, because it's like, you're not actually drawing on the surface whatsoever. It's not actually drawing anything on it. It's just taking away terrain. So particularly if you have a certain kind of decal in this game that is like really high detailed, and it has like little rut designs in the decal, it makes it to where you can't see the eroded rut in it whatsoever. You just can't. You can't see it, because it makes it look like the rut is in a certain place because of the way the decal looks, but in fact, that's actually not where the rut is, because the terrain deformation part of it is in a different spot, so you can't see it. So basically, the only way you can actually see a eroded rut in MX Simulator is from the actual shadow nature of it. You've actually subtracted enough terrain to where it's creating more of a shadow there, and you can actually see more of the rut. And that's why you're seeing all of these 2018 motocross AMA replica EMF tracks where the actual decal itself is super basic. I mean, it is very plain Jane. Like, you can see it right here. I mean, there is basically no actual rut design in the decal itself. It's just perfectly, I don't know what you call it, perfectly bare dirt design. That's because they're trying to make it to where you can actually see the rut in the corner a lot better when you erode it. So they obviously know about that problem, and the people that have been working on Erode know about a lot of these problems here. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know I'm not the first person to say this stuff, and I do think they have big plans to try to make it to where it is going to be a lot easier to see in the future. A lot of people that have been working on the terrain deformation in this game have been trying to fix a lot of the things that I'm saying in this video. So it's not like I'm saying it like they don't have any clue about it and they just aren't fixing it. It's not like that. It's more of just I'm just trying to explain the problems of Erode in the game. You get what I'm saying? And you can take whatever you want to from it, but I understand a lot of people know about a lot of this, and certain aspects of it they just don't know how to fix it, right? Like the number 4 on the list, one of the biggest things about it is it doesn't even really make ruts going in a straight line or going straight up a jump face. Like, you're not going to have ruts going straight up a jump face. It just does not capture that aspect in the game whatsoever. Like, it'll somewhat make kickers off of a jump face, but you're not going to have actual small little ruts going straight up a jump face, because in this game with the terrain deformation system, it does not actually make any sort of rut when you're going straight. It only does it when you're turning. So what that does, that creates this really bizarre effect where it's like you're going to get this somewhat realistic rut making system when you're turning in the corners, but when you're going up a straight line jump face, it's not hardly going to build anything. And when you're going on a long straightaway, you're not going to have like individual ruts made throughout the long straightaway. So, and that's quite the issue, because if you're going for realism and you're trying to make like a rut system that's realistic, that's not really realistic. You know, in real life, you have ruts going up the faces of jumps. Like, that's a real thing that happens. So it's just kind of one of those things. But you got all those people out there that, you know, they don't fully understand it, and they just love to go in there and say, oh, dude, MX Simulator finally has terrain deformation. Oh, my God, dude, it's so great. Oh, yeah, bro. How can you not like that, Spencer? Oh, fuck you, dude. Yeah, nah, dude, you don't know anything, bro. It's like these people, they just don't get it, you know. They don't get how the terrain deformation in MX Simulator, it's not perfect, people. It's not like you just threw in this perfect terrain deformation system, and I'm just hating on the fact that MX Simulator has terrain deformation. That's not what it is. Like, it has some massive flaws to it that makes it to where it's just not as solid as you would think when you first hear about it or first get into it or whatever. And who knows, maybe they'll be able to fix a lot of this in the future. I'm not really sure, but that's another big thing. You know, it just does not make ruts going in a straight line. Now, if you have a jump that is sort of like angled, you know, you kind of got like an off-cambered angled jump, it will somewhat make a rut in that. You know, if you're having to hit the jump at a bit of an angle, then yeah, it's going to make a little bit of a rut, but it's not going to do it in a straight line whatsoever. So, you know, you totally eliminate that entire aspect to the game right there. So, number 3 is the chatter. Now, this is something I've noticed it on some tracks. And some other tracks maybe not be quite as bad, but there will be just an absolute insanity level of chatter that you will get on certain tracks with the road in this game, where it's not even breaking bumps. It's like the smallest little, closest together, peaked out, jagged, triangled out, spliced together terrain style bumps that you've ever hit in your entire life in this game. I mean, seriously, like, it is like over the entire track, you just feel like that bike is just whoa, 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 whoa. It feels like you're going over a damn railroad track over the entire track, you know. It gives you that chatter feeling, and it just makes it feel very, very weird. I noticed it specifically on the Millville 2018. Good Lord, dude. That track, like, seriously, the entire track felt like that. Through the corners, everywhere. I mean, just everywhere. Had that little chatter effect to it over the whole track. I don't know if that's from a specific amount of erode that'll create that. I'm not exactly sure what makes that, but I'm just saying that's god-awful. I mean, the only time you could even remotely possibly have that on a track with that level of chatter is like on a, you know, super dry, hard-packed, blue groove style track, just maybe, and still not to that level of chatter, but especially not on a sand track or a normal brownie mix dirt track or whatever. Like, you know, you don't want it to be like that, dude. It's not breaking bumps, it's literal chatter. That's what it is. It's like it is, it's like the actual terrain itself is splicing whenever you're deforming it. You understand what I'm saying? It's like the terrain is not deforming completely, and you've got this sort of spliced type of terrain where it's like the terrain is still trying to connect together to itself in the rut, and it creates this really bizarre roughness feeling to a lot of spots on the track, on certain tracks out there. And that kind of goes into another thing where the ruts are going to be made the same way regardless of what kind of track you're on in this game. The terrain deformation system in this game doesn't have any sort of variation to it in that type of sense on the actual type of ruts and roughness that it's making. It just doesn't. I mean, you can change the amount that it's doing it, you know, how fast it's doing it, but it doesn't actually change the way it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't have the difference between the type of roughness and ruts that you would have on a mud track and then have the difference in that as you would on a brownie mix dirt track. You know how different those actually are in real life? Well, you don't have those differences in MX Simulator. Like, if you hop on a dry blue groove slick track, that's going to rut up. It's going to make the same kind of ruts, not the same amount. You know, you can obviously pick the amount, but it's going to make the same type of ruts that you would have on a sand track in this game with the road on. It's going to make the same kind of ruts. It doesn't actually make any differences when it comes to that specifically. So you know how different in real life a sand track is from a mud track, and a hard pack track from a Brownie Mix Loretta Lynn's track. You know, it's completely different in the way that those actually deform. But in MX Simulator, there's only one really type of terrain deformation in the game. There's only one type of rut erode system in the game. So you're going to have this very repetitive feeling like it's doing the same thing on a lot of different tracks out there. And that's kind of the feeling that you get with it, which can make it very frustrating, just give it that really weird feeling. And to a lot of people out there, it doesn't make the ruts that you think it would, man. Now, they have improved on a lot of different aspects with that. They'll make certain corners that don't rut up as much as other corners and certain stuff like that. They've tried to experiment with putting the little small, very, very small pre-baked ruts and stuff like that to try to make it a little bit more multi-lined. But I mean, I've never seen such one-lined racing in MX Simulator than I have with the Erode on in this game. It is just, oh my god, dude. Like, it's impossible for it to make those small to medium size, like 4 ruts going through a corner where they still can grab you, but they're not huge. The terrain deformation system in this game just cannot seem to make that. It's like every time you'll go into a corner, you'll have one humongous one-line berm rut in the corner, or you'll have 2 humongous berm ruts in the corner, but you'll never have that realistic, like the pre-made ruts are in this game without Erode, where you'll have like 4 or 5 small ruts in a corner, gives you a ton of line options. It just will not create that with the terrain deformation system in the game. It won't do it. So that's one aspect of the motocross specifically that you are totally missing out on when you have Erode turned on. You're missing out of that, like, 4 lines in the corner, multi-line corner, gives it a very basic, line option feeling on a lot of the tracks. So that's another problem that it has. And I don't know, are we on 2 or 1 or whatever here? Shit, we're probably on like -2 here. But so another thing is just simply the optimization of it. Now, I know JLV has been working quite a bit on this in certain areas and stuff. But it does have this problem where it will have this pop-in effect of the terrain deformation. So if you're coming up to a rut and you're going really, really fast, well, it will sort of warp in the terrain deformation at the very last second, right before you see it, and then you're like, well, what the heck just happened? Why did I just crash? I didn't even see the rut that was there, because it just instantly makes it. Well, that's a problem that it has. You know, it's not like when someone runs over a part of the track and erodes it, it just instantly does it. It's got this bizarre little, like, pop-in effect to it that can really affect the way that you're able to hit that corner, because you can't see it in time. So that's a bit of an issue, but just the optimization of, it's gonna cause some extra lag when you've got a lot of people on one track with Erode on. I'm pretty impressed that they could even get it to work. I mean, I'm being dead honest. Like, it's straight up, like 2 years ago, I didn't even think you'd be able to do it at all because of just how much it caused it to lag back then. But it still does have a bit of a strain lag effect to it, but it has been improved upon and stuff. So I mean, hopefully they can get that worked out. But yeah, that's just some of the problems with the Erode and MX Simulator. It's far from being perfect, man. It really is. And just the way how it really doesn't always make the proper kind of roughness. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make the same kind of ruts and roughness that you have in a pre-made track in MX Simulator. It cannot get it to that level. The terrain deformation Erode system in this game cannot get the tracks to that level. So it almost feels like when you're playing with the road on, it feels like you're playing a more basic MX simulator. Like, yeah, you're able to actually change the track over time, but what the hell's the point if you've only got one line in the corner and it's not even making proper roughness? It's just like, you see what I'm saying? It just kind of gets to that certain point there, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said from the very beginning of it, I didn't think the game was ready for it to be just thrown right into the main racing series, and I still don't think it's ready for that. I think next year they need to make that a little side series and let people do some more testing on it, and then maybe like a full year down the line, maybe we can start putting it back in the actual, main racing series, but it was nowhere near ready for that. Nowhere near, not even close. In my opinion, I just don't think it was, and they just kind of forced it in there and then gave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth for the Erode, and so now it's kind of going backwards on them a little bit, but hopefully they'll get it figured out and we'll be able to potentially have that in the future, but I don't think the game is ready for it. I just don't think it's even to that point yet, man. I don't know. I just feel like it's just not quite there yet. So either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.